This video focuses on the dialogue and in particular the performance of the impulsive and animalistic Joaquin Phoenix as Freddie Quell in P.T. Anderson's The Master, and how despite the efforts to refine Quell by his friend and mentor Lancaster Dodd, played by the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, Freddie remains relatively unchanged throughout the film. We will also be looking at 4 other films, A Clockwork Orange, 2001 A Space Odyssey, Baraka, and Human Nature, to compare and contrast how dialogue and performance is dealt with in conveying human instinct and behaviour. In this shot of a macaque, Anderson said in an interview after watching the first scene of Baraka that he was hypnotised by this sleeping monkey and wanted to recreate this. Shot for shot, the two are strikingly similar, and the shot in The Master makes you feel like you are watching footage of an actual animal documentary. After the scene, we see Quell sitting like a primate and sloppily drinking a mixture of paint thinner and coconut water from a coconut. As this is the opening scene, Quell's performance immediately establishes his character as somewhat primitive. We then see Quell humping a sandwoman that some of the other sailors have made. At first they laugh, but are soon made very uncomfortable. We then cut to him masturbating by the sea. In the first scene, with very little dialogue, the performance establishes that Quell abuses solvents and is depicted as more primitive than his fellow seamen. Similarly, in Human Nature, we see the character Puff, played by Rhys Ifans, as a man who grew up in the wild and also falls victim to his baser animal instincts and acts much like Quell on the beach. Parallels can be drawn between Puff and Quell's experiences in that Dr. Nathan Bronfman, played by Tim Robbins, also tries to civilize Puff after finding him in the wild, but ultimately fails as Puff retreats back into the jungle, remaining unchanged much like Quell.
You have to control it. We're not monkeys.
When Quell agrees to processing, which is a series of rapid-fire questions thought up by Dodd, his body language and posture are very zoomorphic. When asked if he is unpredictable, he farts and laughs and gets called a silly animal by Dodd. Quell says, "I couldn't help it," further emphasizing how little self-control he has.
Silly animal.
I couldn't help it.
But it isn't just rampant sexual desire that illustrates Quell's primitive nature. It is also his erratic and violent behaviour. This scene is used to show juxtaposition between Quell and Dodd and exacerbates his animalistic behaviour.
Your fear of capture and imprisonment is an implant from millions of years ago.
Contrastingly, the following scene in 2001 A Space Odyssey actually glorifies violence as the key to advancing and civilizing pre-human apes, as they discover that they can kill and eat the aardvarks to survive. Another example of Quell's animalistic behaviour is when Dodd is arrested. As soon as the police go to handcuff him, Quell violently retaliates, leading Dodd to shout. This scene really evokes the feeling of a dog protecting his master, which serves as a fitting metaphor for their relationship. Where we see Quell defending his master, in A Clockwork Orange, the following scene on the marina shows the protagonist Alex, played by Malcolm McDowell, brutally beating his friend to demonstrate that he is the alpha male of the group and using violence to assert his dominance to the others, a characteristic commonly found in the wild. In the final scene of The Master, Quell visits Dodd for the last time to say his goodbyes. He then goes to a pub, gets drunk, meets a girl and proceeds to have sex with her. We see Quell as we did from the very beginning, drinking and giving in to his animal urges. This sense that Quell remains unchanged and unrefined is solidified in the repetition of the shot of him laying next to the sandwoman that we see in the first scene. He hasn't changed in any triumphant way, he merely repeats the same behaviour.